In the news this week, speaking out, security consultant on why WA's hotel quarantine guards aren't up to the job. A WAMN News exclusive.
Lives destroyed, the devastation of Perth's fires revealed.
Free and safe, WA comes out of our snap COVID lockdown.
And on Western Perspective, how our young fireys are doing in the bushfire front line. Plus, Dr Miller's COVID comment.
This is the Evening News with Ivan Learn and Sarah Smith.
Good evening. WA's quarantine hotel security was at the centre of this week's brush with disaster. But one insider doesn't understand why the government isn't using the best available resources to manage hotel quarantine. A former hospital security officer says the guards in quarantine hotels are not the right fit for the job. Helene Fong with this exclusive report.
Ben Harrison is a security consultant who spent 5 years working as a highly trained hospital security officer in WA's public hospitals.
I was in government hospital security for about 5 years, and the training in regards to hospital security is quite intense, it's quite vigorous, and it's ongoing. We used to joke about it, you felt like every day you were doing a new training course.
He says the security guards in hotel quarantine are trained for crowd control security.
In regards to knowing about infection control and infection risks, unfortunately, these personnel will fall short. In this sort of situation, it's just not the right fit for this kind of security environment.
As a security officer in a public hospital, Ben was employed by the Department of Health. He doesn't understand why those resources weren't used in the quarantine hotels.
An option could have been to fast-track some of the people who are in their recruitment pools, which they run regularly, and they have a lot of resources there, as well as maybe handpicking some of the staff from the hospital security setting to possibly oversee the existing security there to ensure that infection risks, infection control protocols are adhered to. As I feel, we've just kind of played Russian roulette with the whole situation, and we've now had the same result as they've had over East.
WA's top doctor, Dr Andrew Miller, believes the state government should directly appoint administrators who are experienced in quarantine management to avoid mistakes. He says that public hospital security system is a lot closer to professional level quarantine than the current system.
Well, I expect that the government have contracted out these services because it's easier for them to do so at scale. They probably don't have the high level trained guards available in the numbers that they need to do this work, and that's fine in an emergency situation for a short period of time, but it's not the way to run long-term proper professional quarantine. The kind of system that's run for security within public hospitals will be a little bit different to that within quarantine, because a lot of these people clearly are not patients in the sense that they're not sick, and it's a different kind of facility. However, that would be a lot closer to professional level quarantine than what we're offering in the current contracted hotels.
We see things like a ban on second jobs and making sure there's access to appropriate PPE and training. At the moment, the media suggestions are that this is being run by cowboys, and really this is the front line of our defence against COVID-19. So we need to make sure they're the best trained and the best possible paid security guards in our state.
The state government, on the other hand, has established a review into the hotel quarantine system following this week's snap lockdown. But whether the review outcomes will emphasise on training, job security and protection for hotel quarantine guards remains to be seen.
That review is looking into all aspects of our hotel quarantining. It's a similar review which has been undertaken in other states, and it will include the level of training and refreshing of that training for all security staff.
Helene Fong, WAMN News.
The damage to homes and lives is rising in Perth's northeast as properties are ravaged in an ongoing bushfire in Wooroloo.
Firefighters have been battling the blaze during the week with hopes of containing the destruction as the second fire sparked in nearby Bullsbrook. Nelson Liu reports from Ground Zero.
Burnt trees, dry winds and dusty grounds. The remains of Perth's devastating bushfire. During the week, firefighters worked around the clock to deal with the hellish Wooroloo blaze that's burnt more than 10,000 hectares, destroying many properties and people's life savings.
Yeah, it's been a huge effort by everyone, a significant incident, and I think people in the Perth Hills are certainly close communities, and they'll rally around each other and help each other out.
Fireys have managed to save this property after tough battles, despite its surroundings and some of its interior destroyed by the blaze, the building still standing firm on its foundations. But smashed windows, scorched furniture and a damaged roof structure won't be an easy fix. Other properties, though, aren't so fortunate. Nature's wrath has managed to reach this home and has left a trail of destruction, collapsed structures, twisted metal and a burnt garden. A beautiful home turned into a pile of rubble. This is one of the properties burnt out in the blaze. While firefighters have prevented more extensive damage to the homes, it's uncertain that there could be more. The Department of Fire and Emergency Services says at least 86 properties were lost in the fire, as homeowners are desperate to return, examine the losses and feed their livestock. Then over the weekend, a breakthrough. After days of dry winds fanning the blaze, the bushfire has been contained following better overnight conditions and rainfall. It's a moment many in the community are hoping for, as fireys rejoice.
Yeah, it has. We had about 20 mil of rain overnight, and it's been drizzling all day today, so that's helped reduce the intensity of the fire, and also with the cooler temperatures as well, that's also helped the firefighting.
So far, the Lord Mayor's Distress Relief Fund has received more than $6 million in donations to help Wooroloo and the Hill bushfire victims. As Western Australians give generously, it marks the beginning of a long recovery process for the local community. Nelson Liu, WAMN News.
After a sudden and very difficult 5-day lockdown, Western Australia has hit the streets again after 5 days of no community COVID transmission. At 6 p.m. on Friday the 5th, we began our transition back to normal life. Restaurants, pubs and retail venues have reopened with limited capacity, while casinos and nightclubs will remain closed. Premier Mark McGowan says our swift return to normalcy is due to the vigilance of our community over the last week.
I'm confident our transition plan out of lockdown is the right approach. Like many West Australians, I'm so relieved we have got to this point and we can get businesses and our economy back open with full confidence.
Until 12:01 a.m. on Sunday the 14th, residents in the Perth and Peel regions will still be expected to wear masks at school, work and in public, unless they have an exemption. Aged care homes will be off limits to visitors unless for compassionate reasons, but FIFO workers and elective surgeries will resume.
Young casual workers will miss out on any financial support from the state government after the snap COVID-19 lockdown. Though many young people who work in retail and hospitality have been disproportionately affected by the lockdowns, the government's compensation package will give a $500 credit on electricity bills for businesses. Premier Mark McGowan said stopping the virus before it gets into the community is the preferred method of dealing with the crisis. But Liberals are calling for the government to use the budget surplus to give financial assistance.
I just prefer, if we possibly can, to crush the virus, get it out of our system and then reopen across the board.
In the Northern Territory, there are relief payments of up to $250 for individuals and $1,000 for families. If the Northern Territory can do it, and Western Australia is sitting on a surplus of at least $2.1 billion, I don't know why WA couldn't.
This week was a bad time to deal drugs in Gosnells. Police arrested 14 people over a series of 6 search warrants in the suburb as part of Operation Heat Shield last weekend. Detectives seized amphetamines, heroin, cannabis and psilocybin mushrooms, plus drug money, scales and weapons. A 44-year-old man, a 59-year-old woman and 3 men in their 20s were charged with intent to supply, and 3 people are up on weapons charges. Police say the aim of the raids is to disrupt the flow of drugs and reduce harm to the community.
As the officer in charge of Gosnells Police Station, I encourage all members of the community to report any activity that they believe may be conducive with drug dealing in their street. Everybody knows what is the norm of their street, and if you see anything that is a bit different or you believe is of significance that we would be interested in, I encourage you to ring Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000 and report any information.
In times of tragedy, the community comes together to support each other, heal and overcome loss. However, some see this as the opportunity to profit off the generosity of kind souls. The Department of Mines, Industry and Safety has issued a warning to those looking to donate to bushfire recovery. While they say no scams have been reported so far, they believe it's only a matter of time. The Commissioner for Consumer Protection warns to only donate to licensed charities to avoid being ripped off. To check if a charity is licensed, visit the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profits Commission website. If you believe you have been a victim of a fake fundraising scam, contact Consumer Protection.
A suspicious package has been found at the AstraZeneca COVID vaccine lab in Wales. A disposal unit was called and the lab was evacuated. Work at the lab has since resumed and the package taken by police for analysis. The Welsh laboratory packages the vaccine into vials and says that their production schedule has not been adversely affected. French Prime Minister Manuel Valls says though the country's public health situation remains fragile, lockdown measures won't be needed for the time being. He says infections did not spike in the last 2 weeks, but the pressure mounting on the public health system is huge. New mutations of the virus make up 25% of the country's cases. Mr. Valls predicted that the first batch of vaccines will be given to 4 million citizens by the end of the month.
It's been a tragic week for residents of Perth's northeastern suburbs as homes and properties went up in flames. One resident of the area has taken to social media to start a movement thanking Perth's firefighters for their heroic work throughout the crisis. Rachel Osborne kick-started the Thumbs Up for Fireys hashtag as a way to show firefighters Perth's appreciation.
I wanted to find a way during lockdown that we could actually support and say thanks to our fireys, and I saw a huge procession of fireys coming back that way. They must have been up, fighting, and it's a bit of a shift change early in the morning. And there was a couple of cars behind me, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to honk the horn at them, but I wanted to show some sort of support. And the natural thing that I did, being an Australian, was stick my hand outside the window, thumbs up, and it wasn't just me. It then turned to the car behind and the car behind, and you knew that whatever was exchanged was so powerful.
To participate and show how much you appreciate our homegrown heroes, post a selfie or thumbs up with hashtag Thumbs Up for Fireys.
And that's our weekly news and current affairs. For the latest anytime, go to our website, wamnews.com.au.
Until next Sunday, from Sarah and myself, we wish you good health and good night.
Thanks for tuning in.